Straight guys, what's the most intimate moment you had with another guy? My best friend had muscular dystrophy. I'd been both his main bud for over 10 years, all of which were past his life expectancy, and had to help him go to the bathroom, set up breathing machines, feed him, etc., all out of necessity and love at the same time. When it became evident that his end was near, we refused to talk about it. I moved in with his family for a while just to be there with him, but we never discussed in words what was going to happen. Just kept hanging out as we always did. One night, after about a week of getting up the courage to broach the subject, I asked him if he was afraid of dying. He said not at all, and that he was glad that I would finally be free of the burden of having to take care of him. This broke both of us. This obviously was way too much for either of us to handle, and I laid in bed with him and we cried for what seemed like hours. We went over everything we needed to cover our feelings and our fears, and some logistics concerning certain things he wanted me to keep hidden from his mom. He passed about a month after that, and after 10 years since, I still wish I could go back and lay down with him and hold him and cry and tell him how much I love him and miss him. Best bro spoon session I'll ever have. A few years ago my plastered drunk friend was too sauced to function and he threw up all over himself. Being his friend and roommate, I helped him get cleaned up. Only problem was he kept refusing to take a shower. He was only interested in taking a bath. In hindsight it was safer and easier. So this gets completely nude and hops in the tub filling with cold water. Almost immediately he's screaming for my help, shivering by the time I'm in the bathroom. I fix the water and he starts crying saying he is so hungry. So I go grab some saltine crackers and began to feed my naked friend in the bathtub. So there's that. My best friend passed from a brain tumor when we were both 19. About 1 week prior to his passing, he was not remembering very much and he was continually eating without going to the bathroom very often, due to the steroids and pain meds, I believe. He consumed way too much food over the course of a morning. Around lunch he started vomiting in the most absurd projectile vomit stream you could ever imagine. 20 seconds of a stream the size of a fire hose going all over him, the couch, some on me and very little in the bowl. I ran to grab him. The worst part was when it was done, and we were covered in vomit, he didn't know who threw up or where it came from. Picked him up covered in vomit and carried him to the shower. He was embarrassed of his mom or any girl seeing him naked for some reason with vomit on him. I undressed him, and bathed him myself, helped him soap, shampoo, dry and dress. It was the last time I felt he even knew who I was. I miss you, Ben. I was injured one day during our teenage shenanigans years ago. Girlfriend at the time was on a trip, but her dad offered me a massage, and damn that old man knew what he was doing. I asked him to teach his daughter, or I'd keep coming back for him. I had a pretty rough time a while back, and I was struggling with suicidal ideation and actions. Well, one day, things got really bad, and my friends/roommates opened the door to find me on the floor. I don't think I'll ever forget how they took care of me. One of the guys got down immediately to see if I was okay. In my experience, it's pretty rare for guys, even though he was one of my best friends, to get closer than the casual bubble, but he got right down there with me and held me. They made sure I was going to be safe for the short term and got me to eat some food, and I checked into the hospital a few days later. Bad times. But I made it, and those guys might have ended up saving me in the end. I often wonder what would have happened if they weren't there, or had been an hour later or less caring. Stay safe and hug someone or something you love, y'all. I was at my buddy's house hanging out. He had just taken a shower, dressed, and come out to the living room where I was watching TV. His hair looked odd, so I grabbed his brush and started brushing it. For whatever reason I started channeling a French salon owner. I brushed it into different styles and we were both having a laugh. His dad walked in the room and we immediately acted as if we were doing something terribly wrong. We hurriedly departed and never spoke of it again. I was at a Russian sauna/bathhouse with my ex-wife, years ago. Russian banya is typically a co-ed, family affair. There's food, vodka and beer in the common area with the various sauna rooms off to the side. Basically, you hang out, eat, drink and relax in your swim trunks, go for a 15 or so minute sweat, rinse repeat. It's super relaxing and a really good time. We were in a sauna and she was rubbing me down and giving me the Venic. My eyes are closed and I'm just enjoying the moment when I hear no. I show in a really heavy Russian accent. Turn my head and see this absolute ski unitskevich of a Russian man with enormous mitts and correspondingly small speedo approaching. Before I could say anything, he laid those paws down on my back and proceeded to give me the best massage I've ever had. The whole time laughing and joking in Russian with his buddies and trying to give my ex massage tips in mangled English. I just had to lay there and take it. I walked out of the sauna feeling like a wet noodle and I couldn't make eye contact with anyone else in the banya. This'll get buried, but during chemo things got pretty bad. I picked up a pneumonia bug and things got hella dicey. I asked if I should get my family together and was told it may be a good time to do that. Well, a couple of brothers from home came up to see me, reminisce, and say goodbye. We talked for a while until I got tired. It came time for hugs, but since I was in bed, it made for an awkward position. The last guy to leave is one of my best friends, kid's godfather, best man, etc., and he put his hand on my arm and then just sorta hopped into bed with me and put his arms around me, big spoon style. We cuddled there for a few minutes and he told me how much he loved me, and how incredible life had been with me. Long story very short, I pulled out of the dive and recovered. Dude's still my number one homie. Not one effing clue why, but when me and my best friend were like sish, we were at one of my dad's late men's league hockey games. We never watched the games and just kind of explored and effed around looking for stuff to do. Well, we found out some of the empty locker rooms were open and lights off. Perfect to explore as a kid, right? Well, we explored more than I remember why. We casually bumped into each other in the middle of the dark room and our curiosities must have sparked. We started to just rub up against each other and like dry hump each other. That went on for about 15 seconds when we both kind of snapped out of it at the same time. Still don't know what triggered that kind of sexual eruption, but I have been trying to figure it out since. My fraternity brother/roommate was having a bad day. We were all drinking but he clearly had the most and texted an ex, so I brought him back to our room to keep an eye on him. He got real sad and started crying, except he was insecure about his masculinity, so he would cry for a few minutes about how he felt around other guys, then deny that he felt like that, and this cycle would repeat every 5 minutes. Finally broke through to him that feeling like this was completely fine and actually good, better acknowledging than hiding it. I held him in my arms while he wept for about half an hour. He kept trying to push back because his every instinct was telling him that this wasn't okay, but I just shushed him and rubbed his back as I held him. He eventually calmed down and went to bed. That happened 2 weeks ago and we haven't talked about it yet, but I'm glad he trusted me, and hope he seeks me out if he's feeling that ways again. My buddy and I were bored one day and decided to watch some Cake Boss. That particular day my basement was cold as effing Antarctica, so we shared a blanket. A few minutes into this my girlfriend came into my house and walked in, and I realized how it looked to her to see two straight men bundled up watching Cake Boss together. The only words I could muster up were, "It's not what it looks like." It was exactly what it looked like.